All right, J.D. Vance started some controversy this week by saying something obviously correct in an interview. Here he is talking about the hierarchy of love, the order of people that we are called to love and prioritize in our lives. Let's listen to that.
But there's this old school, and I think it's a very Christian concept, by the way, that you love your family, and then you love your neighbor, and then you love your community, and then you love your fellow citizens in your own country. And then after that, you can focus and prioritize the rest of the world. A lot of the far left has completely inverted that. They seem to hate the citizens of their own country and care more about people outside their own borders. That is no way to run a society. And I think the profound difference that Donald Trump brings to the leadership of this country is the simple concept, America first. It doesn't mean you hate anybody else. It means that you have leadership, and President Trump has been very clear about this, that puts the interests of American citizens first. In the same way that the British Prime Minister should care about Brits and the French should care about the French, we have an American president who cares primarily about Americans, and that's a very welcome change.
What is President Xi doing? What is Vladimir Putin
He's looking
doing?
after the Chinese. Putin is looking after the Russians. They're entitled to do that. Thank God we now have an American president who's looking after the citizens of his own country.
It really is amazing in all the best ways that we have a vice president who talks about the principles of subsidiarity, which is what this is. To have a vice president who actually says interesting, insightful things. When was the last time we had that? I mean, not in my lifetime, certainly. The vice president has always just been, in my lifetime, a blabbering bore. So here we have someone saying things that are true and interesting. The point is, again, obviously correct, which means just as obviously that people are upset about it. So this was trending on social media, a bunch of people on the left saying that J.D. Vance's philosophy on love is cruel and bad and in contradiction to the gospel. Because, of course, a bunch of secular atheists really care about the gospel and know about it, so we should listen to them. But the point itself feels almost pointless to defend because it is so clearly, obviously, self-evidently true. Obviously, you're meant to love your family, your spouse, and your children first and foremost, and prioritize them. And you're supposed to love your nation before the nations of the world. Human society is built on this system. It's how every human being is naturally wired. Our legal system is built on it. Right? Which is why if you're fed and warm and comfortable and your child dies of starvation and exposure, you will go to prison forever, and you should. But if a homeless guy across town dies of starvation and exposure, you're not going to go to prison. You'll be sad if you find out about it, but you're not going to go to prison for that. Nor should you, because the law recognizes that you have a special obligation to make sure that your children don't starve. You do not have a specific legal obligation to make sure that the homeless guy across town doesn't starve. And in fact, if you had to choose between the two, you choose your own children 1,000 times out of 1,000. If you own a smartphone, a computer, or any internet-connected device, there are thousands of companies out there who know you better than you know yourself. They're called data brokers, and they make billions of dollars a year tracking your activity across the internet. They know what you've bought, everywhere you've been, who you talk to, your private and personal beliefs. And they package all that up in a profile that they sell to people who want to control you, marketers, activists, and politicians as well. So what can you do about it? Well, you can get off the internet entirely, or if you don't want to do that, start protecting yourself with ExpressVPN. Here's something most people don't realize. Your internet provider can see everything you do online, even in incognito mode. That's why I use ExpressVPN. These companies track you through your IP address, but ExpressVPN masks your IP address completely, giving you a new IP address that can't be traced back to you. With the new year and new opportunities coming up, I'm especially grateful for ExpressVPN. Whether I'm checking my bank account from the airport or working from my laptop on the go, I know my data is secure. It's incredibly simple. Just one click and you're protected across all your devices. Find out how you can get 4 months free by scanning the QR code on screen, clicking the link in the description box below, or by going to expressvpn.com/MattWalshShow. Helping the homeless guy across town is something that you only do after you've taken care of your own family. And then, yes, if there's someone in need in your community, you should try to help them. And that person should take priority over a homeless guy in China, right? That's the way that it works. And again, it's so obvious. What's more interesting to me is why the left pretends to not understand this. That's the more interesting question to me is why, as J.D. Vance points out, they've inverted this. They've totally inverted kind of this pyramid, this hierarchy. And so now they prioritize the world, the nations of the world, the global community over their actual community and even their family and certainly their nation. And why? Because again, it's not even we're not wired that. It goes against our wiring as human beings. Everything about it makes no sense. And I think there's a reason for it, which I also think that people maybe sometimes miss. Here's why, okay? The left likes to prioritize the kind of universal love of mankind and put it ahead of love of family and love of country, or at least on the equal playing field. And the reason that they do that is because loving the world is easy. It requires nothing of you. You can just sit on your couch and love the world. What does it mean to love the world? What does it mean for me to love and care deeply about a homeless guy in China? I can't do anything about it. I can't really do anything for the world. So loving just means that you're just, you can do that anytime. You could sit on your couch and eat Doritos and watch TV and love the world at the same time. Because all that means really is that you just have sort of warm general feelings about the world and you want things to go well for people in the world. And you just kind of warm well wishes for everybody is what loving the world means. That's easy. Great. So, okay. Check that box. I have warm well wishes for everybody. Check. That's it. Now I'm a good person, right? Now loving your family, on the other hand, requires work. It requires you to do. It requires you to get up off of your couch and sacrifice. Loving your family is an activity. It's a thing that you do. It's a sacrifice. You cannot love your family and just sit on your couch the whole time. Because your family needs things of you. They need your help. They need your sacrifice. They need your service. They need your leadership. They need you to provide for them. If I'm just sitting on my couch and not getting off the couch, I cannot even claim that I love my children. What does that mean? I can't say that I love my children and I'm neglecting them and not caring for them. Because to love my children is to care for them. And so loving the people closest to you is an obligation and a sacrifice. And even loving your country, which comes after loving your family, but even loving your country, there are things you can do for your country. It's not as much of an all-encompassing obligation. I mean, for some people it is, if you join the military, for example, but for most of us, it's not. But still, there are things you can do for your country. Right? Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And so there are things you can do for your country. There's basically nothing that you can do for the world. There's almost nothing. There's a whole lot every single day you can do for your family, and there's less, but still a lot that you can do for your country. And so those are the kinds of love that the left is not interested in and doesn't like and doesn't want to talk about and wants to de-emphasize because it requires them to do things. And it carries with it an obligation. And the last thing that they ever want is an obligation. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.